I don't know if you guys watch a lot of hip-hop videos, but man, bitches are the shit. Bitches are so much better than regular women. They're always in a good mood. They just dance around their thongs and their high-heel shoes, and you get to smoke bongs and play the Xbox all day long. They never seem to mind. Bitches never complain. They never tell you to take your feet off the couch, or we gotta go see my mother. Bitches don't even have mothers.
Greg Giraldo, very simply, was the real thing. He had the respect of real comedians.
Nobody was as good as him and yet lived as hard as him and delivered consistently like him.
One of the most compelling things about Greg was that there's an honest soul inside of everything he did.
The thing about his comedy was just being so raw and honest and real. He just was such a real guy.
I was in a subway the other day. This guy screams across the tracks. He goes, "Yo, Monica! Yo, Monica! Yo, you got AIDS, yo!" I go, wow, that's how they tell you?
He had this brain that was completely this like supercomputer that just wouldn't shut off. It helped him generate all this stuff, but it also tortured him.
From the moment he got on to the moment he got off, he didn't take a breath, and it was all funny.
We need a whole new energy source. We need something else. It's not going to be conservation. Let's face it. Americans are not going to conserve. We're not going to shift to smaller cars. We can't. We have big, fat kids.
He was also the kind of comic that you went, "Oh, son of a bitch." It was right in front of everybody's face. He found it, and I'm like, what am I, an idiot?
Gay marriage is fine if you want to make Jesus cry. If that's your thing, you know what I mean?
That's why we love him.
There was a darkness about him that transcended beautifully in his comedy.
That's what made him funny. Otherwise, you got Jim Belushi doing According to Jim,
Everybody thinks of him, I think publicly as kind of a roast comic. Never in a million years would I think of him as like an insult comic or a thing. He was a heady comic. He was not the guy in the club that you thought would die.
That's what you're calling it? Give it up for Greg Giraldo.
Give it up for Greg Giraldo.
Give it up for Greg Giraldo!
The concept of me being interviewed about Greg Giraldo, the great comedian who is dead, would be so hysterical to us.
The West Nile virus. You know how they knew it was coming back to the New York area? They found 2 birds in Whitestone, Queens that were infected with the virus. Who finds these birds? I grew up in Queens. We used to find dead birds all the time. We didn't take them in for autopsies, We picked them up and we threw them at the gay kid. That's what we did.
The thing about, Giraldo, that he wasn't a dick.
Greg Giraldo!
This is where they all stopped shooting.
When you walked into a room and you saw Greg,
Is everyone allowed to come in?
you'd be greeted with warmth.
It's funny, I'm Italian, he's from Queens, but we always used to do this fake Italian greeting. He'd go, "Hey, che dice?" Somewhere wasn't even Italian, which like hug each other. But he was always upbeat,
They don't get the comics are dark, tortured souls, and we don't need to dance around for attention.
Are you dark
Speak for
and
yourself.
tortured?
He is. Kid's twisted.
They do say that comedians are.
He's like, get.
The rules for being a gentleman used to be so specific and nice.
Somebody texted me saying, I just read on the Facebook that Greg Giraldo overdosed. I found out from a text from Tom Papa.
I found out from, it was from the club owner where he was performing.
I found out, and I didn't believe it because it was on Twitter.
Nick Swartzen texted me and he said, "What's going on with Greg Giraldo?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "He's in a coma."
And I just remember being mad, like, come on, man, what are you doing? You're too smart for this stuff. Enough, I didn't realize how serious it was.
When I went to go visit him, I knew what was happening.
I got it like a text message. Just said Greg died, like typical nowadays, text message.
When a comic leaves, especially somebody Like Greg, to me it's more than losing just like a friend or somebody I knew. It's like a part of you because you know what they went through. I mean, you know that world. You know, it's a very unique existence, and it's one that we share together. Losing Greg was really, really, really hard.
You know, I have nothing but heartbreaking now, you know, loving, adoring, respectful feelings for him. But there's like a part of me that just is like, what the f***?
I really do miss his, you know, just knowing that he's there and that I could call him. You know, like, I just saw something that I really want to tell Greg. He'll think this is hilarious. And, you know, there's nobody there on the other end of the phone.
Any young comics coming up, that's where you should try to get to try to be that real on stage and have observations so acute and so original. That's what you should strive to be.
India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons. How do they get nuclear weapons? Those are dirt poor countries. Their armies don't even have matching uniforms, for Christ's sake. You know, they go to war, they gotta call each other up. Wear something tough looking. Like, my life is so much harder now than it was when I was younger. I want to be up now all the time, you know, but I can't because now I'm an alcoholic and I can't drink at all because when I do, I end up snorting crystal meth off a switchblade at some after-hours bar thinking, shit, I'm going to be late for my flight in the morning. Except it's like 2 in the afternoon and the flight was 6 weeks ago and you're like, holy shit, how did that happen?
You can't try to dwell on the dark side of Greg because it wasn't why we loved him. We loved him because he was so generous with his laughter and his spirit and his mind, and the fact that he shared his talent with us, and the fact that he made us all look smarter because he was this cool Harvard lawyer who decided to be a comedian and then brought that to the roast. And this is just like a great mind and a great spirit, and I just try to think of him as the star that he is.
Look at the things we all believe. Every religion's got crazy stuff. I'm Catholic, the Virgin Mary. We have a whole religion based on a woman who really stuck to her story. You know,
he really elevated comedy, and he made me proud to be a comedian. You know, you look at Greg, and he made comedy like a admirable profession.
I'm not sure I'm going to see anybody as good as Greg in my go-round, and that's depressing to me. Like any comedian, I've managed to make this about me. This isn't about Greg. This is about how I don't get to book Greg anymore.
I hope he ends up known for more than being just really great on roasts, because that was really just like in his pinky.
Right after he passed away, it was always insult comic, known for the roasts. That just so minimizes what he did.
Anybody that knew his work, the insult comic is the last thing that would come out of your mouth.
He wasn't mean. He just wasn't a mean guy. He was, he just really had a good heart. Really had a good heart.
I don't know if God cares or not. I think there's some power that's driving the universe, but it laughs when we up. It laughs when you walk into a glass wall, or, you know, every time you're driving home trying to get to the bathroom real fast and you're almost there and you shit your pants just a little bit. Somebody's watching that and laughing.
He was really going out there, like he was fighting for his life. There's part of you that's being sucked into a hole, and it's the fight to get out of it that is where the comedy comes from. And there are people that they lose that fight.
I don't know where it all went off the rails. I mean, I tried drug addiction, alcoholism. That probably didn't help. But I think maybe if I just... You know what I probably should have done, really, looking back on it? I should have probably committed to show business. Because it's not show fun. It's show business.